Hi students, this lecture video, we will now discuss the second stage in the managerial process, which is your organizing stage. During this stage, or in the organizing stage, you establish or define the relationships, procedures, equipment, and the tasks that will be assigned to your group members. Now, organizations are formed, no, according to Fayol, when the number of workers is large enough to require a supervisor. So these organizations are necessary because they accomplish more work that can be done by individual effort alone. Now, when a group is formed, a structure of organization becomes present. Okay? Now, an organizational structure refers to the way in which a group is formed, or the lines of communication and the means for channeling authority or making decisions are made. Now, in an organization, there are always two types of structures, the formal one and the informal structure. When we talk of formal structure, these are the visible structures or the planned structures that provides framework for defining authority inside the organization. It means that formal structure refer to the subordinate manager relationships inside the organization. Okay? When we talk of informal structure, these are the invisible structures or the unplanned ones. This refers to the structure that involves your colleagues, your friends, your social connections inside the organization. This is important to notice because uh, informal structures are important, no, in goal completion inside the organization. As good as it seems, only formal structures are depicted in an organizational chart. Okay? Uh, One of the most effective theories to guide or to manage our or do the organization phase of our managerial process is the work of Max Weber, where he said that the growth of large-scale organization and correctly predicted that this growth required a formalized of set procedures for administrators. It means that the growth of organization should be guided by a legal rational authority so that obedience will be owed to the legally established impersonal set of rules. Okay? So ang ibig sabihin is that for an organization to be effective, for an organization to be smooth, impersonal set of rules should be obeyed, no, by everyone, and that legal rational authority should be established, no, should be established inside the organization. This removes the inefficiency of bias. This removes the inefficiency of partiality, no, inside the organization, making it effective and efficient. So according to him, we must plan our organization in a bureaucratic manner. Well, well, contemporary connotations of bureaucracy may mean that our organization is ineffective. But the true intention of bureaucracy is to institutionally apply, no, general rules to specific cases. Okay? Other characteristics include or involve that labor should be properly and clearly divided, that the hierarchy should be well defined, that there should be impersonal rules, no, and there should be impersonality of interpersonal relationships. There should be a system of procedures for dealing with work situations. Rules should cover the rights and duties of each position so that there will be no overlapping job descriptions, no, inside the organization. and that promotion should be based on technical competence. So, if you will look into it, no, the intentions of bureaucracy was actually to improve organizational efficiency. However, it disregarded what is it to be in an organization during these contemporary times. It disregarded, uh, when we say bureaucracy, it it shows us a unilateral relationship, no, na nag-exist lamang sa isang organization. So ang unilateral relationship na pinapertain natin would be the relationship of the manager to the subordinate, no? And not otherwise, or not the vice versa. O kaya hindi yung subordinate to manager, no? It disregarded the bilateral relationship between employee and management. Okay? Sometimes they view bureaucracy as rigid, no? Because it makes it more difficult to produce effective patient care pag in-apply sa nursing profession. Okay? And that there is a growing clamor, no, for increase in autonomy and work empowerment for nurses inside the organization or the healthcare facility. Now, organizational structure can have several components, no? Or several components which can be depicted by your organizational chart. Okay? So an organizational chart is not just a display of picture, it's not just a display of who is in this position or what, but it's actually a representation of how your organization works, how authority flows within you. And it gives you a picture of where does information go. Okay? Now, your organizational chart always present the formal relationship or the formal structure, as I have mentioned earlier. Okay? Now, your organizational charts can have solid lines which indicate authority and communications. Okay? Usually kapag vertical ang line na dinedepict, no, it denotes that the formal chain of command, no, or the formal paths of communication na nandoon sa isang organization. When horizontal lines are depicted, this reflects the communication between people with similar type of responsibility or similar level of responsibility, yet they have different function. So po pwedeng magkaroon ng ng horizontal line, no, between nursing department and laboratory department, no, because they have the same level of responsibility, yet they have different function. Okay, so horizontal line depicts communication. Now, dotted lines, on the other hand, minsan makakita kayo ng dotted lines, they signify staff positions. When we say staff positions, these are positions that are advisory in nature. So, meaning, it represents how does that position contribute to organizational effectiveness, no? Advisory function lamang po siya sa management. Here's an example of an organizational chart where you can see some dotted lines, vertical lines, and which signify this one signifies staff positions, vertical lines, and horizontal lines. No? Like for this example, the chief nurse is at the same level of responsibility with the medical director, but they have different, no, functions. The chief nurse is responsible for the nursing services, while the medical director is responsible for the medical services. Okay? As well as the finance and admin. Okay? The finance is concerned with the financing aspect, no? Financial aspect of the organization, while the admin, no, is more on the administrative aspect of your organization. Okay? So, the first thing that you will see you should take note, no, take note in the concept of organizational structure is the concept of unity of command. No? This is usually indicated by the vertical solid lines between positions of the organizational chart. It pertains to one person, one boss, wherein a single employee will have to report only to one manager. Because we want to make sure that the communication should be one, uh, uh, it's only in one direction, no? Or the flow of command, no, should be from one person to the other, and likewise, no. Now, this is to avoid confusion. But sometimes, when you work as nurses, you frequently feel, no, that you are reporting to many bosses because of the multidisciplinary nature of healthcare. No? Kung papansinin ninyo, or kung if you will or if you will reflect, no, in your um, duties, no, it seems like nurses report to three bosses, no, patients, doctors, and their immediate superiors or the nursing service administrators. No? If you have problems on on a certain on who to consult, no, for decisions, always understand the context of the problem. Okay? If the problem is more on the patient's health, patient's condition, patient's prognosis, etc., or something like that, you have to consult your doctor. If it happens to be a concern, no, with with the nursing services, staffing, no, you have concern over patient assignment, no, you consult your nursing superiors. And when your patients have concerns with their needs, no, the boss will be your patients. Okay? Another concept that we need to understand is yung tinatawag na span of control, or the number of people reporting to one manager. No? This represents the span of control. There are several factors that affect span of control. It can be geographical location, capability of workers, similarity of task. No? This is the number of people reporting to you. So if geographical location will be a factor, assigning a person or assigning a manager should be favorable to the geographical location. What does it mean? If you're going to manage adjacent areas, no, it would be easier for you to act for certain problems. But if you are a manager of two different areas located different in different location, geographical location inside the hospital, then it would be difficult for a manager to handle such wards or areas. Okay? So you have to consider the geographical location when you assign, no, when you assign or decide for the span of control of a manager. Okay? Another consideration is the capability of worker. Larger span of control will be appropriate for nurses or for subordinates who are highly skilled or highly independent. No? While lower, while novice employees, no, will require, no, will require a smaller span of control for managers. Because kailangan tutukan ng manager yung mga novice employee. And having more novice employees for him, no, will complicate his task. Okay? And lastly is to consider also the similarity of task. In an area or in the hospital, there can be several areas with one manager. But then, if you will notice, those areas, no, who are different by name, no, are actually interconnected with each other. Like for example, in the operating room, those managers assigned in the operating room can be also assigned to handle those who are in the recovery room, no? Because those two tasks are interrelated. Okay, so you can connect these two to make sure, no, to because they are of the same uh, span, no, or scope or nature of work. Now, you also have to consider the number of people, because if you have many people to report to one manager, it becomes the decision making process becomes delayed, kasi uh, kailangang i-monitor, tutukan ang mas maraming tao ng iisang manager. Pero kung ang span of control mo ay maliit, no? Nagmumukhang top-heavy yung organization. When we say top-heavy, masyadong makitid, no? Masyadong makitid ang iyong organizational chart, no? So imagine sa labing labing lima na katao na may isang manager, kapag pinanipis mo yon, ginawa mong top-heavy, pinanipis mo yung span of control, tumataas, no? Yung organizational chart mo, yung organization flow, or yung communication flow. So kung mataas yon, no? Fewer tasks can be accomplished because of the flow of information has, no, to follow. So you arrive to a decision na kaunti lang, hindi yung implementation ay hindi maganda or whatsoever. So the suggested size or suggested range is around 3 to 50. This is according to some researches. No? You also have to consider technical competence and experience of managers. Okay? Bago ka mag-assign ng number of people sa kanya. Inside an organization, there are several managerial levels. Okay? So there are actually three, no, managerial levels. Your top level management, no, your middle level management or middle management, and your first level management. Okay? Now, your top level managers looks or is responsible for overlooking for the whole organization. Those top level managers, okay, are those people who are coordinating internal and external influences. No? No, the names of those who occupy top-level managers may vary. Pwedeng tawaging CEO, pwedeng tawaging president, pwedeng tawaging director. Okay? Depende sa organization. Okay? This because top-level management or the nomenclature or the names of the positions are constructs. When you say constructs, it's recognizable, no, universally, but not defined universally, no? It's defined contextually. So, iba-iba ang tawag sa mga nasa top level managers. Okay? So, since top level managers are concerned, no, with the overall performance of the organization, and they are more into coordinating internal and external influences, leadership skills are demanded from them. Okay? Sabi natin, in leadership, this is a skill where we inspire others, no, to achieve, no, our shared goal. It's not like management, because management is more about day-to-day transaction. But leadership, on the other hand, is another subset of skill, no? Sabi nga natin, it's more on influencing other people, no, to push them forward. So to make these things happen, no, dapat ang top level management should have leadership or good leadership skills. Di na sila concerned doon sa day-to-day operation, no? Somehow meron pa rin silang idea on how things run around the organization. But then they're more on leadership, no? They should be a source of inspiration. Okay? Now, another level in managerial level is your middle managers. When we talk about middle managers, they are the ones who occupy the second level of managerial level, no? Nasa gitna. Now, they are responsible for coordinating lower levels of hierarchy and also involved in the planning and establishing of unit policies, and as well as, no, coordinating inputs from top management. On the other hand, first level managers are the ones who are at the front lines, who are concerned with the unit specific workflow. So they are dealing with immediate day-to-day operations. Okay? They are dealing with day-to-day operations. So here are some of the aspects, no? Here's a summary of uh, what are the responsibilities, what are the planning focus of top, middle level, and first level managers. Okay? Now since middle level managers coordinate top level information and first level information, the tendency is that they become overburdened. It's because information flow tends to go at the center of the organization. Therefore, or this is best described by the concept of centrality, no? Where frequent and various types of communication occur at the center. So sa makatuwid, the burdened manager will always be the middle manager. Okay? Because the middle managers usually convey and translate, balas tama, translate top level information to first level managers, and that middle level managers are the ones who forward inputs that were gathered from first level management. So tendency, middle managers become or have broader perspective of the organization because of their high degree of centrality. Okay? Now, let's talk about the types of organizational structure. Okay? The first one is your line structure. When we say line structure, this is the linear presentation of positions, no? Linear illustration of organizational design. Okay? So, you typical ito sa mga bureaucratic organizations. Okay? Now, this is important to delineate, no, the structure, because if people are familiar with the structure, no, with the structure of the organization, their organizational stress lessens. Okay? Now, another advantage of line structure is that authority and communication is clearly defined. So, alam ng bawat tao kung kanino uh, manggagaling ang kanilang directives, no? Kung kanino sila magre-report, no? Yun nga lang, the problem with line structure is that it produces monotony and rigidity because there's no upward communication. Because it's inappropriate. Okay? Upward communication is, sabi ko nga dati, usually is in a form of feedback. Feedback from the subordinates, feedback from those under the organization. If those at the top do not know what happens at the bottom, chances are their decision making is monotonous and rigid because there are no inputs coming from the front lines, no? From the front lines. Okay? So here is an example of a line structure. Another type of structure, or organizational structure, is your matrix structure. Now, in matrix structure, the organization is defined based on their function and their product, no? And when they define the function and their product, okay, the different positions in each subgroup, no, will be defined. So these groups all employees according to their roles in the organization's products and function. Actually, this is the purest form, no, of organizational structure because it illustrates regularity and order. Yun nga lang, One of the major disadvantage would be the delay in decision making because information sharing is required between the two groups. Kasi nga, hiniwalay mo sila, they have to coordinate pa. Unlike kapag fin-use mo yung function and group, no? Function and product group rather. Pag fin-use mo sila, information sharing is easier. So here's an example of a matrix structure. Another type of design is what you call your ad hoc design. No? When we say ad hoc design, this is just a committee design. No? Because sometimes when we plan our organization, there are some unexpected tasks that we may encounter. Unexpected tasks that no people are assigned to do so. So to address such inflexibility of line structures, we create ad hoc committees. Now, ad hoc committees, ang primary purpose niyan is to facilitate the completion of that certain task, yung bagong lumabas. Okay? So once those tasks are resolved or completed, ad hoc committees are disbanded. Another type of organizational structure is yung tinatawag nating flat structure. When we say flat structure, we try to remove the hierarchical structure of a line structure or the hierarchies in the line structure. We flatten the chain of command and decentralize the organization because we want to eliminate too much hierarchy that results to slowed or delayed decision making. Yun nga lang, it's more difficult to apply. It's also difficult pala to apply flat structures. Why? Because it burdens managerial decision making. No? It burdens managerial monitoring. No? Because dumadami yung mga taong kailangang i-monitor ng supervisor na nasa flat structure. Okay? Second, pero this is good. This is a good approach, to have a flat design, because having a flat design empowers your employee, empowers your subordinate, because you give them the chance, to decide at the front lines. Okay? Yun nga lang, maraming talagang managers, there's still managers who cannot let go of control. Okay? Who cannot let go of control. So, oo nga, flat structure, pero kung control freak yung manager, wala rin. Wala rin. Now, we're done talking about organizational structures. Let's now proceed on how nurses deliver care, or the nursing care delivery system. Now, just a few reminder with the nursing care delivery systems, these concepts are again constructs. These terms, the terms that you will encounter are all constructs, meaning they are universally recognized. Meron yan, universally. Pero iba-iba ng application at ng context. Okay? So one might be saying this type of nursing care delivery system in the US, it's different here in the Philippines. But then, in notion, pareho sila. So, let's be open-minded. So the first type of nursing care delivery system is what you call your total patient care nursing. So the nurses in this type of model assume total responsibility during their time of duty for patients, for meeting the needs of the patient assigned to them. Okay? So it's like it's a one-on-one nursing care delivery system, and it's very much like the contemporary concept, or construct of private duty nursing. So one is to one, tapos a patient or a nurse will be assigned to a certain patient for 8 hours and will be relieved by another nurse. Now, if this is the type of care and that there is no care plan being implemented for the patient, chances are the patient may be may become may receive may receive a different type of a different type of care from the nurses being assigned to him or her. Okay? Another type of another model or method of nursing care delivery nursing care delivery is yung tinatawag na functional method. So this emerged during the nursing shortage, no? And ancillary personnel were tapped to assist in patient care during the World War, okay, 1940s. So during this time, maraming na aksidente pero kaunti ang nurse. So they employed the concept of bureaucracy na division of labor. So hinati-hati yung mga function na ginagawa ng nurse, inassign sa mga ancillary personnel, no? So noon yon, ancillary personnel. Pero ngayon may tinatawag din tayong functional method in contemporary times, no? May hinahati-hati rin yung task ng nurse and can be assigned to other people as well, no? Functional method ang tawag doon. Yun nga lang, sa functional method, there's no plan of care being followed, no? Hence making the system or the model fragmented, no? So there's fragmentation of care that occurs and job dissatisfaction among employees, no? Job dissatisfaction kasi kung ikaw ba naman na nurse, no, napapractice mo lang is one aspect of your profession, no? Like for example, IV nurse ka, or all throughout your career IV nurse ka. That causes job dissatisfaction, no? That causes job dissatisfaction. Another type of nursing model or nursing care delivery model is yung tinatawag na team nursing. No, team nursing is similar to functional method. Sabi ko similar ha, hindi hindi alike. Similar. Similar in construct. Merong pa ring division of labor. Yun nga lang, coordinated siya, no? To address the fragmentation of care. In team nursing, there's a nursing care plan that is followed by the whole team. Okay? Now, in team nursing, one of the disadvantage is improper implementation of the plan. No, because you involve other people, you communicate the plan, chances are the plan may not be implemented properly. The next type of nursing care delivery is yung tinatawag na primary nursing. This is the primary nursing is one-to-one patient relationship pa rin and brings the nurses back to the bedside. So again, if you will look into it, it's similar to your total patient care nursing, no? Albeit this one has a care plan or follows a care plan. So the team in primary nursing will be always ang team will be led by a primary nurse. Kaya primary nursing, no? A primary nurse which will develop the care plan, which will be followed and implemented by their associate nurses, no? Yung mga kaka-endorse nila. So if that's the case, no, there's a care plan being implemented, there is a disadvantage that may occur or that can be observed, which will be the poor implementation of such care plans. Another type of nursing care delivery, this is on a macro level, is yung tinatawag na case management. When we say macro level, at the whole hospital level siyang tinitignan, no? In case management, this is a case-based approach in healthcare. It requires the use of multidisciplinary maps, no, to implement a plan of care. It requires clinical pathways, no, to implement care. Because to manage, no, or to perform a case-based management protocol, you must have a clinical pathway, no, to describe what you should do and what resources you should need for your type for an individual case. Okay? So case management is like taking care of a particular case with a template, no? Another type of macro level nursing care delivery is yung tinatawag nating disease management, which is a different set, no, than your case management, because ang focus sa disease management will be the population, no? The goal of disease management is to service the optimal number of covered lives. This framework is usually seen in government health programs, no? In government health programs. Okay? So we're done talking about nursing care delivery systems, no? Nursing care delivery systems are important, no, to describe how things are going inside the ward or inside the nursing workforce or inside the nursing unit. Now, another important aspect, no, in deciding for staffing, for organization of our wards, no, will be the patient classification system. Because this system is a way to measure the acuity of someone's illness or of your patient's illness. Now again, uulitin ko, this patient classification system is a construct, no? It's a construct that's universally observed, pero iba-iba ang application. Iba-iba ang application sa bawat setting, no? Okay. Now, each institution can develop their own patient classification system. Okay? Provided that the number of categories into which the patients should be divided should be indicated, that there should be characteristics of patient in each category, that there is type and number of care procedures that will be needed by a typical patient in each category, and that there should be an indication of the time needed to perform these procedures will be required, no, by a typical patient in each category. So if you will remember the term NCH-PPD, that's your nursing, which stands for nursing care hours per patient per day, that reflects the total number of hours you will be required at bedside, no, to attend the nursing needs of your patients. Okay? Take note of the definition of NCH-PPD. The total number of hours in a day that your patient would require you to be at bedside to provide for nursing care. So the NCH-PPD is an important factor to determine the number of staff inside the hospital. No? Sige, let's proceed. So here's an example of levels of care and the required NCH-PPD. This one is developed here in the Philippines, no? This one I got from PhilHealth Bench book. Okay? Again, sabi ko nga, the NCH-PPD is developed locally or contextually. So here in the Philippines, ito yung ginagamit, no? Pero pwede pa rin namang baguhin ng ibang ospital. So level 1 care, ang sabi diyan, requires 1.5 NCH-PPD. What does that mean? Na ang level 1 patient, according here in the Philippines daw, will only require 1.5 hours, nursing care hours, sa isang pasyente per day. Does it make sense? So let's recall on what activities, no, for admitted in the hospital who will require only minimal care. For example, those who undergo routine checkup. May ganun eh. May nagpapa-admit for routine checkup. So that one basically, no, or obviously is a level 1 patient, no? Level 1 patient that requires minimal care. So let's recall your activities for your patient, for a patient, no? Na wala namang gamot for executive check-up lang. I-BP mo lang every 4 hours. Pagpasok mo ng room, how many minutes, no? Will you spend on that patient, no? Providing nursing care. Sige nga. So kung kunyari, let's say for example, nag-BP ka. Nag-BP ka mga 5 to 10 minutes or like 15 minutes the most. No? You're done with your nursing care. Wala nang gagawin sa kanyang iba. No? So multiply that 15 minutes. Let's say for example, total 15 minutes. And you will only see him every 4 hours. So 15 minutes times sa isang araw, every 4 hours, 6. 15 times 6, that's around 1.5. Tama? Tama ba? Yeah. So if that is the way if that's the way things will go, then this is accurate. So this one tells how many minutes or how many hours would you spend to a patient with level 1 needs, no, in your hospital in a day. Okay? So tingnan po ninyo, when the level of patient care or the level of care needed for patients increases, the nursing care hours also increases. No? 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6. 6 hours. No? Kasi it's CHPPD. 6. No? Now, there is also, we should also take note the distribution of patients then per type of hospital. These are estimates, no, of patient percentage, okay, and the ratio of professional and non-professionals nursing staff na kailangan ninyo. So this is also one way to determine how many patients would be under typical care or minimal care rather, moderate care, intensive care, and specialized care based on the type of hospital, either primary, secondary, tertiary, or special tertiary. Okay, may bagong classification na nga. May tinatawag na level 1 hospital, level 2, level 3, and level 4 hospitals. Okay? Now, to determine your staffing needs, you need to take note of the different laws, okay, and different statutes. No? More importantly, the labor code, which mandates employers to have to allow only 8 hours of work as a regular hours of work. And another important statute, no, for staffing will be your 40-hour per week law, which mandates 2 days off for all hospital personnel. So if that's the case, then there are 4 hours. Okay, there are 8 hours in a week, and there should be 40 hours per week law. A typical nurse or a healthcare worker working in a hospital will only be required to be working for 5 days, 8 hours per day. So if that's the case, then the amount of NCH per level, the 40-hour per week law should take into account, no, when you determine the number of staff. You also have to account, no, to determine the number of relievers and divide that the number of days absent by the number of days present and multiplied by the number of computed staff. Okay? So typically, your nurses should be distributed in this way. No? Sa morning, may 45%. Sa PM, merong 37%. Sa night shift, 18%. The notion is that mas maraming nurses ang kailangan tuwing morning shift because most procedures, no, or the bulk of procedures are in here. Now, while the least bulk of work always fall on a night shift. So you also have to take into consideration the number of leaves the nurse can avail, no? So the vacation leave may vary, the number of sick leaves may vary depending on the hospital. So for example, if one hospital would give a certain nurse 15 days leave, you have to take into account 15 days leave. Okay? Sa number of sick leaves, there will be 5, no? May mandated po ito ng law, ng labor code, 5 days yan. Pero it may vary with other organization or hospital. Kasi pwede silang mas magbigay ng additional sick leave for their nurses. Okay? So ito, these are all standard. Number of days of here in the Philippines will be na 104 sa isang taon. No? Bakit isang taon? Bakit 104? Kasi there are 52 weeks in a year. Multiply it by 2, no? Kasi 2 days off dahil sa 40 hours per day. There should be 104. No? Pero kung 48 hours, isang araw na off lang, 52. Kasi 52 weeks. The number of legal holidays, this needs to be updated, but the last time I checked, it's around 14. No? And the number of days na special non-working days, kailangan mo rin i-account. So add them all up, the total number of non-working days is 152, while the number of working days in a year is 213. Okay? So you need to you also in staffing also you need to schedule naman yung people. After you have determined the number of people, no, the number of people needed, you need to schedule them, no, accordingly so that they'll be distributed all throughout. No? So why do we need to account of all the numbers that I told you? Because it is needed, no, in computing the number of staff in the hospital. Don't worry, I will not mention this in your test. I will not ask this for test. But it's good to know, no, the process, no, of determining the number of staff nurses needed in a hospital. All right? So I'll be providing a module, no, or a material for computing the number of staff needed, no, for this computation. But for you, I want you to read this part on your own and compare and study the process of arriving at the number of nurses needed for a certain number of bed capacity. Okay? Do you have any questions? If you have any questions, you may always send me a message through our Facebook chat group, through my FB Messenger. You can also start a discussion if you want to in our discussion board in our Facebook group. Okay? If I hope you learned something from me today, and I hope that you will have a nice week ahead. Thank you very much and goodbye.